everyone. Good evening once again, and welcome to another episode of Stemmy Conversations. And for today's episode, we have with us Miss Kadia Francis. She is a digital literacy and skills development specialist and strategist. In 2018, she embarked on a mission to upskill and empower Jamaicans and other Caribbean nationals through information and education, starting with the founding of Digital Jamaica. Now, Digital Jamaica is a tech based information and idea exchange hub that includes a blog and podcast dedicated to the education and promotion of aspiring and existing Jamaican tech or digital professionals. To further realize those goals and build on the gains made through Digital Jamaica, she launched the Digital Disruption Agency, DDA, in 2020. Right. So a little bit more about the DDA. They collaborate with the public and private sector entities such as Kingston Creative and Heart Trust NSTA to develop digital literacy and skills training courses, as well as skills development workshops and learning resources for individuals. Today, the DDA has created over 20 training programs and trained over 4,000 Jamaican and Caribbean nationals. In 2021, Kadia launched the Digital Awareness, Readiness, and Engagement DARE program, a youth-focused initiative providing exposure, access, and education to technology for Jamaica's young people through mentorship, internship, and training. Kadia continues on in her efforts to close the digital gaps and further proof Jamaicans and Caribbean nationals. Today we have with us Ms. Kadia Francis, and presenting will be Ms. Stephanie Simon and Mr. Bradley Downer. So as we open up the floor, let's go. All right. So Bradley, would you like to have the first question?
No, you can go with that.
Okay, no problem. Okay. So, Ms. Kadia, can you share a bit about your background and how you became passionate about the digital skills, digital marketing, and skills development?
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me. It took a while to get here, but we're here, right? um, in terms of how I got interested, it I tell the story all the time that it happened in my second year in college. I was a full-time student, struggling to make my way through college, and it took me a while to actually get to college. It took me a good 10 years to actually get to university, and it wasn't for a lack of trying. And so when I finally got to university, I was going to give it my best, and it was the first time that I was actually making the decision to try hard, because when you grow up, people tell you that you're naturally bright. Yeah, I was winging it right through high school because I was naturally bright, right? But then I wasn't living up to my full potential. So when I got to university eventually, it's like, I'm going to really put my foot in it. I'm going to really work hard. And I wasn't going to allow any other obstacle to get in the way, because I really was able to go after, trying, because I got a scholarship. And it's like, I'm going to maintain this scholarship so I can pay my school fees. And I wasn't eligible for student loan because I had already attempted to go to UA and had gotten student loan for that and had deferred. And then it was a whole issue with student. It was a mess, right? And so I had to really, as I said, step up and, do my best. Long story short, I was struggling to keep up because I had to really decide, because the scholarship only pays so much. Was eventually able to figure out the student loans thing, but it really wasn't that helpful because I was studying law, and law is expensive, right? And so I had to figure out how was I going to pay my school fees and buy books. And a legal textbook can run you into the $20,000, $30,000, and I was like, I cannot afford any of this. But the modules were so heavily grounded or rooted in these texts. So you can't not have the text. And then UTech doesn't have that great library, all sorts of problems. So I turned to Google. And it was me learning how to use Google to find the information that I needed to, perform in my classes, and then stumbling upon the sources of a lot of the notes that we got in the different classes. I was like, so they got this online too, and they're acting like they're so academic. They wrote it. No, they got stuff offline, and I found the source. And I was like, if you're tapping into the source, I'm tapping into the source too. And so it was that realization for me that, hold on, I can go to Google and find the information if I know how to look for it, right? And that just opened up a whole new world for me. And ever from then, I've been telling everybody about how amazing the digital space is. And I even credit it for, being one of the major assist in terms of me not just successfully completing university, but completing university with gold star. I get gold star, right? I got a honors degree, like big. So it was because of that, and that's where I guess you can call it evangelism started, because not a lot of people know what Google was. I suppose this was like 2013 when I eventually started university. So people knew what Google was, but people know Google as something where they're going and they throw something in the search bar and tap search. Google is a incredibly powerful search engine, and if you know how to search in it, you stumble upon gold mines. And so I was like, guys, we need to rethink the way we use these tools and what these tools can actually be used for. And that was the catalyst for everything that has come since then.
Wow, that is really
It was a
amazing.
long go around to just say Google. I Googled it.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool because, as you said, everybody thinks, all right, the books are there and there's no other form of medium, but if they're actually the PDFs online at the touch of a button, gain
Shoot, I
access
was
to
able to
it.
find the books online.
Much easy. Okay. So thank you so much for that part. So another question. The digital landscape is changing. And what are some of
Mhm.
the latest trends and developments in digital marketing? And how can individuals stay updated with these changes?
Oh wow, that's a multi-layered question. So we can break that down. So the question is, is the digital landscape changing? You see, I'm careful of not to use the word changing so much as evolving. Because
Yes,
with
fair.
technology and with digital, it's more of an evolution than just abrupt changes, right? And so
Correct.
we have time because it evolves. We have time to kind of predict what's coming or see what's coming because we are seeing in real time the technology develop, right?
Correct.
And so, yeah, the digital landscape is changing right now. Everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has really, everybody's shaken up by it. So that's one major evolution in terms of technological advancement, and that also affects digital, right? And everything that we do in digital marketing. So now, marketers are having a conversation of, are we moving from SEO, search engine optimization, to AIO, artificial intelligence optimization? And now that Bing has incorporated ChatGPT in their search, and now Google is doing the same because, capitalism, competition. Now
Yeah.
that is becoming a thing, how are we adapting our marketing and our strategies to not just conform, but to be able to position ourselves to take advantage of this new technology? But even before we get there, ChatGPT is also changing the way we write, changing the way we craft messages as marketers, changing digital media, right? Because we all see the strike that is going on in the States with the writers and the studios. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's what that's a change in landscape we're witnessing in real time, where the studios are like, well, I can copy your likeness, AI can copy your likeness, and then I can get it to do anything I want it to do. I don't need to pay you. AI can write for you, right? So we're seeing it happen in real time? How can individuals stay updated? It can be a lot to process, and it can feel so overwhelming sometimes. All these things coming at you. Artists are complaining that AI is now, people are now preferring AI art and it's going to put them out of business. And in the media has a major part to play, because the headlines are AI steals people's jobs and AI to replace people, or and you get afraid, you become afraid. And when you're afraid, your response is negative.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it, I don't want to hear about it, I don't want to learn about it. But our skills have to evolve as well. The technology is evolving, our skills have to evolve, and we have to adapt to the technology. But before we even get there, we have to know what the adaptation will look like. We have to know what the technology is that we need to adapt to, and then find a way to better position ourselves, to either provide a service using the technology, or to teach people how to use the technology, right? So that's how you adapt. So I had Matthew Stone, who is an AI researcher in Jamaica, and he is the founder of the Jamaica Artificial Intelligence Association. And I asked him, I was like, is artificial intelligence stealing our jobs? And he's like, well, not stealing, but certainly some jobs are going to become redundant, and that's been happening. AI kills work. That's not AI. Technology kills work. That's a phrase Michael Clear uses all the time. And it's very profound when you think about it, because the whole point of technology is to make human existence easier, right? So can we really complain that technology is meaning less work and more leisure? That's if you think about that, the crisis is that we think that's a bad thing. Less work and more leisure. Oh my God, what can I do? Right? But we also have to think about the human factors. If it's replacing jobs, how are these people going to feed their kids and maintain themselves and all that kind of stuff? Which is where the adaptation comes in, which is where the adapting comes in. So he says call center workers, they're going to be replaced by AI.
Mhm.
And the BPO sector is in a frenzy. But my question is, are we training these call center workers to pivot inside that same industry? So can they pivot to being the person who writes the prompts for the AI that the AI is going to use to communicate with persons? Are they going to teach them machine learning or customer service? Because one of the funny things is, the more technology advances, is the more there's going to be a need for better communication and human communication. Are we
Right.
teaching them how to do that? And so it's not a net loss, but there's net good to it as well, if we teach people how to adapt to the technology. And in Jamaica and in the Caribbean, we don't have a tech culture, right? And because we don't have a tech culture, we have a paper and pen kind of culture. It's
Yes.
very hard for us to wrap our minds around, okay, so Chat GPT is a thing, AI is a thing, the technology is a thing. How do I move from where I am now and skill up or upskill myself, so I can better position for the future of work? Because the future of work is going to look very different than it does now. We're already seeing it happen, right? And so first we need to understand what that future looks like, and then how can I upskill myself so I can adapt to better position myself so I'm marketable in that future. And that starts with you understanding what the technology is, taking your time to do as much reading as you can, and then matching with your skills. So what skills that can I have that technology can help me to upskill? Or what skill that I have that I can use the technology to improve? Or what latent skills that I have that I can improve? Or what skills that I can acquire quickly that I can use technology to help me acquire? Because you can use the technology to help you build these skills as well. So it's really about how you are adapting, and it's a mindset thing more than anything else, I think. I don't even know if that answered the question.
Yes, you actually hit the nail on the head, and you couldn't have said it any other way. I think that is the situation that we're currently in. Everybody looks at these different productivity tools, and AI included, as a threat, but
Yeah.
they should be looking at it as a way, as you said, to upskill.
Yeah.
And as you
Because even
said,
as a digital marketer, because I think the question you asked was, what are some of the latest trends
yeah,
in digital marketing? One of the latest trends is learning how to write a prompt. Because tools like ChatGPT are worthless if you can't write a proper prompt. And
correct.
so that's a trend. Digital marketers are now having to pivot and adapt and learn how to write prompts that can help them write strategies faster, or build campaigns, stuff like that. So that's one of the trends, that one, it's and I hesitate to call it a trend too. It's an adaptation that we have to have, because AI isn't going away, right? So we have to adapt to the tools, and the AI trend is not something that is, it's a, what you call it, it's something that is here to stay, let's just say. And so as marketers, we are gonna have to adapt to see how can we use these technologies to get our products or our brands or our businesses in front of more people in an ethical way, because there's an ethics issue here.
Yes.
And also in a way we're not using it to flood people or over influence, because now that AI has become a massive trend in the marketing space. Have people talking about de-influencing, right?
Yeah.
I'm a de-influencer. I'm telling you not to buy all this foolishness because it's not necessary, right? So we
Mhm.
have to find a way to create that balance. But as I said, it goes all the way back to how your mindset, and if you want to or are willing to adapt.
Let's be willing to join the bandwagon, or you want to stay with the past.
Yes, stay in your position and become redundant.
Well,
I
Brad, you have a
love those
question?
responses. I love those responses, to be honest.
Hi, Bradley.
I have one question, right?
Mhm.
Um, as a digital skills expert, what are some of your favorite online social platforms for learner upskilling, and why do you recommend them?
YouTube. And everybody can, you already know it was going to be YouTube,
The number one.
because I am not advocating for, because and the reason why I'm starting is because I would have gotten this pushback, especially from academia. I'm not advocating for YouTube to replace college. The college experience goes beyond what you are learning. So yeah, what you're learning in college, you can learn on YouTube, you can learn on Udemy or any other of these platforms. But the college experience, the things that you really take away is not necessarily what you are learning, but one, how you're learning, and the relationships that you are building. Is a social space, right? It's a space that teaches you how to socialize. That's really what school is as well. It teaches you how to socialize, how to collaborate with people, how to manage personalities, all that kind of stuff. So I will never tell young people don't go to college. Please go to college. It's an amazing experience. But as well, colleges need to also understand that you're fast becoming redundant. And I'll give you an example. This morning, I was in a forum with Caribbean academia. These are lecturers and professors and Dr. So and so's, right? And they were having a conversation about AI and the role of AI in academia, especially when it comes to academic writing. And they had a presentation by Dr. Claire Forrester. He's a Jamaican linguist who teaches at Waterloo University in Canada. And he made this very brilliant presentation. You can get the gist of it. There's a video I have on my Digital Jamaica channel. Sorry for the plug. On YouTube, where I had a conversation with Dr. Forrest about pretty much the same thing. And so he's telling them that, listen, schools have to create policies now. You can't ban it. Banning it makes no sense. It's inevitable. AI is inevitable. You can't ban it. Chances are a savvy student already is using this to ace their classes. You cannot ban it, right?
It's already there.
It's already there. So how do you adapt it? One of the ways you can adapt is by creating policies and guidelines around usage, teaching students how to use it without plagiarizing themselves, or without running afoul of academic integrity, right?
Mhm.
But you don't want to teach them how to do that, and then you're telling them not to do this. How can you stop them? Are you going to be in their house policing them while they're doing their assignments, or are you going to force them to do the assignments in the classroom? You're creating more work for your lecturers, right?
Right.
So create policies and, educate your lecturers and guide students as to how they can use it. In fact, that's what the universities are supposed to be for, because if you're in a university classroom and you're being taught things that you cannot apply to the world that you are going to be occupying, or the future that is going to await you, then it's you've wasted 3 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars for useless information, which is why most people are going, I'm not going to college, because what's the point? What you're teaching me is something that somebody would have developed 20 years ago, and we're 20 years ahead of that. So what are we even doing here? And the pushback is what amazed me in the conversation this morning, because it's like, no, we need to maintain academic rigor and integrity. And my thing is, why does learning have to be hard? Why do I have to suffer to know that I learned something? Where I can go on YouTube and watch a really cool video that was really nicely edited with sounds and things flying, and I'm learning just the same, but it's fun, right? In academia, is like, if you are not almost at the brink of exhaustion and mental breakdown, did you really earn that degree?
Like you're quite hard for this
That's
degree.
yeah. So my thing is, there are other sources, and another thing that academia can do and universities can do is incorporate these sources into their training. If you are teaching software development and the Indians are killing it on YouTube when it comes to software development and code, they're killing it. They are the go-to people on YouTube to learn. Even professors go watch these YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Introduce to your class. I go, listen, this guy, read my notes, but this guy is going to be really helpful to you. Make it a part of your source material that you're giving to your students as part of your training or learning material, right? Incorporate it into the learning, because you cannot escape it. So YouTube, definitely, but there are also, I am a big proponent of self-learning, and there's Udemy, there's EDX, there's Skillshare. There's so many platforms that you can go on and you can access up-to-date, relevant, useful training that can, in the immediate, advance you in your career or advance you in your education. So there are all these platforms. We're living in the information age, and we're acting like this is still the 1800s. We have to open these big
Right.
cobweb books to go. No, I can literally go online and find these books, and even have Google read the books to me. I don't even have to read it myself. Just have Google turn on the audio thing, and make Google read the books to me, and I'm just there making my notes and vibing, because it's easier for me to do that. But it comes back to adapting. It comes back to, everything is going to come back to how we are adapting the information. So to answer your question, YouTube, Skillshare, Udemy, there's some open university platforms, like, as I said, EDX, and there's several of them out there, some of them free, some of them paid, that you can go on and learn something, upskill yourself. You can now control how much you advance, because you can control how much you learn. You have access to the information. Now it's for you to do it.
And it's not only that too, you're actually building a portfolio for yourself as you're learning
Exactly.
these different skills. Because just as you're out to the university and you go for a job, they're gonna ask you what kind of experience you had or what is it you would have built. And that leaves a bit of a gap, because all you had in your mind is to just go and do the exams, you just do the projects, and that's it. What is the next phase? And that is a break in the chain, because you're gonna have to start back from ground one again and get everything up to date.
Yeah.
All right. So, Kadia, with that one question, I think you answered three other questions I had.
Yes, she did.
I'm so sorry, guys.
No,
That's
that is
fine.
okay.
That's fine. That's
Everything
fine.
had a smooth
I
flow.
I love the discussion, honestly. But my other question to you would be, how is your journey being in the digital field? How has it been for you
My journey in the what?
in the digital field in with your DDA agency?
Sorry, I didn't get that part.
How has your journey? You said you transitioned from law
Yeah.
and
Oh,
you
right.
have DBA. What has that journey been like for you?
Listen, the best thing I ever did was buy a mic from Amazon. And I'm not trying to advocate for podcast bros. I really am not. But the best thing I did was buy a mic from Amazon. And I'll tell you why, because that mic empowered me to start talking, you know, to start developing brand Kadia. And I had incredible timing too, because, and this is going to sound real bad, because I started really taking off just before the pandemic hit. And then the pandemic hit, and I was really the only person talking about the things I was talking about, and people started listening because now they had time to listen. And everybody was like, this girl makes sense. I come teach a course. Come on, teach a course. Come on, talk to these people. And so, you know, putting yourself out there, you know, sharing your thoughts on things, and talking to people about the things that or think about certain things, and then not just saying, well, I think this, but I think this because XYZ, well researched and put together arguments, and you're just going out there and talking about it. That makes a world of difference in terms of discoverability, which for me is a bad word these days, but let's say visibility then. So I tell people there are three pillars. There are three things that you need to do to be successful online, right? And I call it the VRT strategic framework. It's a framework that I've built out while observing how people progress, in terms of building a brand or business online over the last 5.5 years that I've been doing it, right? So it's very intuitive. So the first pillar of this strategic framework, there are three pillars. The first is visibility. You have to become visible to the people who are already primed to want to hear what it is you have to say, or want to buy what it is that you have to offer, or what it is that you're selling. So you have to become visible to them, which means that you have to understand who they are, where they are, and what they care about, right? And once you can tap into that, you can then craft a message that will resonate with those people. So your communication and the channels that you're using to communicate with those persons are paramount for visibility. But then visibility is not enough. It's not enough for people to be aware that you exist. That's great. You exist. And so what? What am I supposed to do with that information? Right? Now they have to care that you exist, and they care that you exist if you are relevant to them, right? If you become relevant to them in some way, shape, or form, you're providing some kind of value for them. So Digital Jamaica became visible because I started talking. Well, first, it became visible because my intention was always to build community, right? And so I wanted to build a community of people who were interested in tech, already in tech or in digital or whatever, in the online space, doing things in the online space. And it became a space for me to highlight and promote them, while using that to inspire and motivate other people to explore the space, right? And so it became visible because I was just talking about these people. And of course, people like when people talk about them in a positive way. So it was the first thing I did was publish the Digital Jamaica People to Watch list, which is one of our flagship programs, right? And on that list, I just, a list of people who are doing amazing things that you need to know about. And that spread that spread really rapidly, and people like, oh, this is great, I love this, give me more. So we became visible. And we instantly became relevant because I was talking to a very specific group of people who wanted to see themselves represented in the online space, because you don't see a lot of Caribbean people represented in the online space, but we're out here doing things. It's just that we don't see them in mainstream media because they're not sexy, right? So you don't see them on the TV, and if you guys, where you guys are, is anything like Jamaica, we have lazy journalism. So you're gonna, you want somebody to talk about a thing, you're gonna look for who you know, even if that person is not the right fit to talk about that thing, right? But there are people out here who are doing some amazing things, and I wanted to highlight them. And so we Digital Jamaica became relevant to that burgeoning scene, that burgeoning digital tech scene in Jamaica, right? But then the other thing that I think I got right was timing. As I said, Digital Jamaica launched really in January of 2019, December 2018, January 2019, right? And launched with the people to watch. That kind of took off. Everybody started talking about that, and that was the momentum to carry us on. So we got the timing right. We got instant visibility because we were talking about other people, and the strategy behind that was to use the community to create a groundswell that lifted everybody up and pushed everybody forward, and that's what happened. And we became instantly relevant because of that. And so that is how that is what my journey has been. And now I can succinctly say that to you, that, oh, step 1, step 2, step 3. But back then I didn't know that that's what I was doing, right? Which is why I'm saying this is something that is intuitive if you are an observer of the digital space and how people come to prominence in the online space, right? So back then I was just like, I think we should gather here at this space. Here's a space for us to gather and talk about the things that we're interested in. I remember when social media was about finding groups of like-minded people or people with similar interests. It's not about that anymore, but that's what it was back then. Right? And so it was an interest group, and people with similar interest in technology and digital found the space. And then I was like, you know what? I don't just want to promote, I also want to teach, because I'm learning so much from all of these people in this community. How can I then take that information and even adapt the information that I'm finding on YouTube or on Google, because I'm reading a lot of blogs, I'm doing a lot of research, but the information just wasn't relevant to us in Jamaica. Experientially, it wasn't relevant. I couldn't connect the dots between what Becky was saying in California and what was happening in Jamaica, because our marketing scene is completely different. Our culture is different. So then how can I take that information and adapt it? And so Digital Jamaica expanded into what I call a knowledge exchange hub, where I'm sharing knowledge and people are sharing information, everybody, because we live in a society where information tend to be in silos and we gatekeep information a lot, right? And only if you have certain privileges can you access the information. I say bullshit, right? Information for free up, and everybody must know things, so we can make money from the things that we know. That was always my position. And so we moved into, that's how the training arm of Digital Jamaica came up, because DDA is the training arm for Digital Jamaica, right? And it started when I think the first time we did like major training, because we were talking to people, we were going to, associations and talking, but the first major training we had was with Kingston Creative. Kingston Creative is like a collaborative kind of NGO group that is really about the resurgence of culture in Jamaica and the rebranding of downtown Jamaica as like the cultural mecca, not just of Jamaica, but of the Caribbean, right? Because we have so much people mix up in that space, right? In terms of arts and culture. But then again, timing is important, because I was out there talking about we need to educate people and we need to learn how to use these online tools. And they're like, okay, well, good. Because now the pandemic is hit, and our people, our community, which is largely made up of creators and creatives, people with creative businesses are stuck because dance not keep again, so promoters are having problems, right? And there's a knock-on effect from that. Tourists not coming here again, so the craft people are having a problem, and then musicians are out of work and people not buying art because everybody holding on to them purse strings, very tight, right? So how can they pivot online? And they're like, you know what? We're going to have a boot camp and we want you to teach the boot camp. And so I had to build, my first time building a program and delivering a training program. Because I was doing a little thing here and there. I would have a little pop-up training thing here and there. But this was like, whole heap of people, like well over 100 people. I was like, whoa, big stage. Okay. And so, I built the program, I delivered the program, and it was a hit. And I was like, yay. And since then, I've been working with Kingston Creative to build programs and deliver programs. So the social media training that I was asking Bradley earlier about, if he's going to join, this will be my 4th cohort of students, right? And I also do their digital marketing program. And then from there, because this program is in collaboration with the Interdevelopment Bank and Heart was like, oh, we love this. This is great. Help us build out our digital marketing level 4 program. And so I was part of the team that did that. And they're like, okay, since you were integral in building this out, can you build out smaller programs for us? And it's just us, it just evolved. I know I'm a adjunct lecturer at Heart, right? Teaching programs at Heart, and have worked with several universities, helping them create digital literacy and training programs in, digital media and digital marketing. And that's literally how it just evolved. I got the timing right. I became visible to the right people, and I became relevant to a community of people who found value in what I had to offer. That's the short of the long, right? And that's in my experience, that's how it works on the online space.
I was blown away by that, and I just was asking my co-host, how can I join? Because I'm
Anybody
fascinated by
can
this.
join. If you go to my page, Digital Jamaica, another shameless plug, on Instagram, all the links are there. The link is in my bio. The information is on my feed. If you go to Kingston Creative JM on Instagram, all the information is in their feed as well, and the link is in their bio as well. So far we've had over 200 people registered for the program, so I think they're going to shut that off soon because I cannot have a class of 500 people. So if you wanna get on it, I'd say jump on it tonight if you can jump on it tonight.
Definitely, I will.
And in the video, there's a video on my page too where I'm explaining how to register, because if you're a non-Jamaican, then you wouldn't have some of the documentation that they're asking for. But there are ways around that, which I would have pointed out in the registration video. So you give it a look, and if it's something that you're interested in, jump on it.
Well, I'm already interested. So you already have another student, so I'm going to join too. So I hope that the viewers that are listening out there, providing when the next cohorts are out, please join. It's something you don't want to miss. So far we would have heard about the successes, right? Now, what were some of the challenges you would have faced?
Oh gosh.
You could just give like one or two.
It's hard. I hate creating content. That's the biggest challenge for me. In terms of the technical / administrative side of it, is creating content. Content development is hard. It's a tedious process, and I had to teach myself a lot of the processes that that is now a part of the inner workings of Digital Jamaica to learn myself. So how to build a website, how to edit audio so I can create a podcast, how to edit video, how to write. Because I did law, and so we were taught legal writing. Legal writing is very different from creative writing. Right? So I had to learn how to write and how to convey a thought or a message. And that was hard. But what I wasn't anticipating was how resistant people would be to what I was saying, and the whole idea of we need to teach our young people how to use the technology so they can better position themselves for the future of work. That has been my message from forever. We are not properly preparing our young people for the world of work. And we can always say, well, what if they want to be entrepreneurs? It's still the world of work, right? And so, how are we preparing them for it? Because we have the misconception that because they're digital natives and they grew up with the technology, it means they're digitally literate. They are not. They are so not digitally literate, right? And we leave them to their own devices, pun intended, and they're not learning. And because there's no ethical guidance that we're providing them, they listen to every and anybody online who tell them all sort of foolishness, and then it doesn't amount to much of anything, and they're even being more retarded by that information in terms of literacy, right? And so that's one of my big thing too. Being in the space is being frustrated by the lack of foresight, whether it's from government or public sector bodies or even the private sector who still wants to commoditize certain spaces or what I say, close off certain spaces for only privileged people, right? You're still flabbergasted by the sheer lack of digital literacy and by the huge chasm that we call the digital divide, right? And who has access to technology and what that access can actually do for people. It's frustrating when you hear the minister of, who's supposed to be the minister of technology, say, oh, well, we have Wi-Fi in Kingston, so it's a smart city. What? What are you saying? It's like the more you know about how technology and digital works, is the more frustrated you become because you realize how far behind we actually are and how slow we are to move. We're proactive, we're reactive, not proactive. And you want to hold people and shake people and go, are you blind? Right? So that has been the biggest challenge for me in terms of being in the space, being in this industry or being in this space, is seeing the slow pace of first acknowledging that we are woefully underprepared for this thing.
Right.
And not just acknowledging, but then doing the work to catch up, especially when it comes to our young people, to upskill. Because in Jamaica, we have a largely unskilled labor force. Like the majority of our labor force is unskilled. What are you going to say to these people when ChatGPT come and take their jobs? You can't just say, well, oops, it's AI. What? And then what? They're going to go home and sit down and do what? Right? So how are we preparing? How are we re-educating and upskilling our labor force? And how, especially, are we preparing our young people to be adaptable and to be marketable in the future of work? That's a major challenges. And again, as I said earlier, on the technical side and on the brand administration side, trying to build and maintain a brand in the online space is difficult because of the whole thing I talk about, which is one of the reasons why discoverability is such a dirty word for me these days, because I put out an article recently, the Digital Insider newsletter, where it's a 5-part series I'm doing called Schmexit, social media exit, right? And my argument over the 5-part series, what I'm hopefully trying to convey to people is that if you're building your brand or your business on social media, you're building your brand and business on sinking sand, right? And these days, because of algorithms, which are largely focused on discoverability, which means that they're more stranger focused than follower focused, which means that they're not about community building, but they're about viewership, because the longer they can keep you mindlessly scrolling is the more ad they can generate. So it's not about helping creators build communities. And the effect of that, or the consequence of that for creators, is that we can't convert. We can't convert our audiences. When you have a creator on, say, TikTok that has 5 million followers, and there's VidCon, one of the biggest video conferences in the world, and as creators, this is the universe for creators, and you can't get at least 1% of that 5 million audience to come and meet you at VidCon, or to come and see you at VidCon, or to buy a book, or to buy a shirt. Something is wrong there. That means you're not converting, right? This is so um that's another challenge we have in the online space, how to balance social media and realizing that social media is not digital. It's only one aspect of digital. This podcast is another aspect of digital. Blogs, YouTube, there's so many other spaces that are higher converting because they drive more traffic, they can generate more traffic, and you can then drive that traffic into high converting spaces like an email list or a newsletter or whatever, right? But because we don't have a digital culture, and because of digital literacy, we were introduced to digital with social media, so that's what we know, right? We didn't go through the early days when you had the online journals that evolved into blogs and then podcast. We never got through that. Our first introduction to social digital was social media. And so we are sticking to social media like glue. It's like we're in an abusive relationship, or we just don't want to let go because he's so good to me. He's
That's a
so good to
perfect
me,
example.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that it's frustrating because you can get the engagement and you can get the views, but does that translate to does that convert? No, it doesn't. And so you're now having to balance all these different platforms and doing all these different things and competing for views and competing for people's attention because social media is so distracting. And so now you have to create ever more elaborate content. You're not going to find me singing and lip syncing. So it's just not for me. It's just not for me. So how can people like me who don't want to gimmick out the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can we survive in an online space that is mostly just about entertainment? So it's less social and more media. So, we call that social TV. Social media is no social TV where people are coming here for entertainment. They don't care
Yeah.
about what you have to say about learning stuff unless it's something controversial that they can either agree with vehemently or vehemently disagree with and cancel you about. Otherwise, they don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you are having to grapple with that now as a creator, and having to find different ways of engaging audiences. And so right now I'm just slowly moving people off social media into my Substack space where I can have more meaningful conversations up there with less distraction, less noise, and it's easier to convert people there because I know the persons who are here are persons who are definitely fans or who are definitely interested, right? So it's easier to convert them because they're already lukewarm. That's what we call a warm lead, right? They're already warm.
Yeah.
So those are some of the challenges of building your brand or business in the online space, and nobody is immune to it. Even major creators are having a problem. Remember that backlash that Instagram got when they were trying to become TikTok,
Yeah.
hence Reels, right? So nobody is immune to it. We're all having to figure it out. And if anybody tell you that they know exactly what they're doing, they're lying because none of us know exactly what we're doing because the space changes so rapidly that we're constantly playing catch up.
Correct. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So I actually loved how you gave the breakdown with the digital media and the social media, because I think a lot of the persons out there, they say that the social media is the digital media and they don't look at the other avenues out there. So
You're
as you
right.
said, we're stuck like glue or in the abusive relationship because that is all we know. We don't want to step outside.
Yeah.
So I think this is an eye opener for some of the viewers who will be listening to
Yeah.
this series. So thank you so much for that. Um, Bradley, do you have a question that you would like to ask or add a comment?
I would just say again, I love the discussion. So I have another question, Kadia. So the pandemic changed the adaptation of digital tools and remote work. And this obviously impacted the demand for digital skills. How can persons capitalize on such opportunities?
We're regressing badly, unfortunately, because in our minds, COVID done, and so it's business as usual, and that's unfortunate to see. But if the panic, if for you the pandemic was a wake up call and you're realizing that there's actually no going back, and this is just us delaying the inevitable, then it is up to you, because you now have access to information to upskill yourself, and that's something we were talking about earlier, right? The demand for digital skill is not just a demand for at this point, it's beyond a demand. It's you just know, we all know, we've been told, the experts are saying it, everybody's saying it. The future of work is going to require higher cognitive skills. It's going to be less about manual labor and more about cognitive labor. And what do I mean by higher cognitive skills? I'm talking about critical thinking, and I'm talking about communication. That is what the future is going to require. So even if you're not going to be a coder, or you're not going to be building AI tools, there's still a space for you here if you are good at communicating, or you're good at critical thinking, solving problems. Problem solving is also a high cognitive skills, and that is what we're going to need going forward, and those are digital skills. So just like how in Jamaica certain things are mandatory, math, English, mandatory things that you have to learn, you're going to have to learn digital literacy is also going to be mandatory, or should have already been mandatory, meaning it's a compulsory part of our learning. From kindergarten, we should be teaching our children this, because from kindergarten, they're exposed to technology. When my 4-year-old brother before he was even 4, by the time he was 2, he knew how to go on YouTube and find his own videos. No, that's not digital literacy. That's him having really good memory, right? And knowing how to go through the steps to get to what he wants to get to. But he's exposed to the technology from then. What kind of guidance are we providing for him to know how to actually use the technology and begin his learning from there, right? So we have to, and then we're not saying that you need to know all digital skills. That's impossible, right? What we're saying is, look at what you know how to do now, or what you want to learn how to do, or what is something, a knowledge that is going to be easy for you to acquire. At one point, everybody wanted to be a social media marketer. Everybody wanted to be a digital marketer, right? But digital marketing is such a very huge field. You can actually specialize. So you can be an SEO specialist. You can be a Google Ads specialist. You can be a copy specialist. So there's so many things, there's so many ways that you, and my thing is, I don't believe in I believe in maximizing effort, not duplicating effort. It's like, why do we need to reinvent wheels, right? So if you are already in a space, say you're in my space, the online marketing, branding, digital space, right? And you're looking around going, wow, how is this space going to evolve in the next 5-10 years? You know, because people are already talking about what's going to be happening in the next 5-10 years. They can predict it. After a while, they can predict. And you're going, okay, what do I need to do to be able to still be relevant 5-10 years from now? Right? How can I still be relevant 5-10 years from now? You know what I'm learning now? I'm learning prompt engineering. How to write prompts, because if it's not write prompts, so ChatGPT is some other AI tool that I'm going to have to learn to write prompts for, some other generative AI tool, and all of them require prompt, the use of prompts, right? So I'm teaching myself prompt engineering. I'm teaching myself how to use these tools to automate a lot of the processes that I have in terms of my brand and my business. So it frees up time for me to go and learn other things. I'm also learning video editing because let me tell you something, video is never going to go to style. Audio is never going to go to style. So I'm learning video editing and how to edit audio, right? I'm brushing up on my web development skills because websites ain't going nowhere anytime soon, right? So it's about what are the skills? How can I transition from my now job into my future job? And that's where you have to take stock of what do I know now and how can I develop what I know now or pivot from what I know now into what I need to know to be marketable in the future. That in and of itself is a skill. That in and of itself is a skill, and that's something that takes time for you to work through. But it's something that you really need to start doing because we keep talking about the future as if the future isn't already here. Right? So that is something that you really need to start doing as quickly as possible. I give you an example. Aishiba Cornwall. She's very she's becoming very popular in the local marketing scene. And it's because of how she has been able to use the digital space to craft this whole story about the college experience as a student studying marketing, her college experience and what that has been like. I know she has started a new channel called The Mess, where she's talking about all the things that nobody taught her about the real world after college and what trying to find a job is going to be like. Because it's all sexy and pretty online, and you see all these people that you like and follow them, doing thing, and them get them degree, and them, oh, I'm gonna be doing speaking engagement here, I'm gonna be speaking engagement there, right? So it seems easy until you are dropped in the middle of it, and you're going, wait, whoa, what's happening? You're discombobulated because you weren't taught how to get from here so to this, so from your now to your future, right? And so, as I said, it's something that you're going to have to really work through and develop, whether it's through mentorship or paying somebody for their expertise to teach you how to do it. Because as Caribbean people, we don't like pay for certain things, If it's not an essential or something where we personally like for our entertainment or enjoyment, we don't really want to be fit, But we're going to have to invest in ourselves, invest in our future selves, right? And if investing in your future selves means you're going to go up on Udemy, go pay for your course, go and pay for the course and upskill yourself, right? I call it future mapping. And future mapping is looking at, like, I'm starting from here. No, these are the skills that I have. They're either fully developed or not fully developed. This is what I want to be able to do in the future. How do I get from where I am now to where I want to be in the future? You're building that out, right? And you're taking all the steps to get there. So if from getting from here means I'm probably have to go back and get a little certification, or I can go do a local course online. Like Google Garage has a ton of courses. So maybe you can start getting a little certificates from Google Garage, right? Getting a little social media certificate, and a little digital marketing, a little SEO certificate, because these things stack up. And in the digital space is more of a show and tell, like show me that you can do the work more than show me a piece of paper where say you have a degree. But still, we still live in the real world where if you go to a job, they're gonna ask you for the paper. So go online and get your little certificate and your little badges and thing, because it makes you more credible as well, right? So listen, future map, where you know, where you want to be, and what are the steps that are going to get you to where you need to be. The skills doesn't have to be, because there's a thing, I call it hardcore tech versus soft tech, or hardcore digital versus soft digital. Hardcore tech is coding, right? Soft tech is communication. Soft tech is problem solving, right? And industries are not going to disappear either. Right now, you're a realtor, you're working in the real estate industry. That's not going to disappear tomorrow, right? So how can you incorporate tech or digital into your space to give you an advantage? That's how you're looking at it, right? How can I incorporate into my space to give myself an advantage in the future? The first thing is my industry going to survive further technological advances? That's one thing you need to consider. And if it can, how can I either upskill myself so I can move to another position, whether a lateral position or an upward position, or pivot out of that industry into an adjacent industry or into a whole other field. In 2023, you can start from scratch and learn something completely new and go into a completely different field of work, right? But you have to have your future map. You have to plan out what your future is going to look like and then start doing the work to build the skills to get there.
Just wow. That's all I could say. Because I think this is a lot of things that the youths out there are struggling with, as in terms of where they want to go. So I hope that everybody that's listening, please get your future maps out and start working on
You're
it.
not starting over, you're building from where you are.
Correct. So, Brad, you have anything more? And if you want to add comments or so?
I would just say wow too, because I think I needed some of what I heard. So my other question would be, Kadia, so with advancement in technology, how can marketers practice responsible and ethical digital marketing?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Ethical digital marketing is very subjective, I think. I don't think there's an objective criteria for what ethical means when it comes to digital marketing. We see people willing to debase themselves, or willing to go to some extremes to grab attention, because attention is commodity in the digital space. It's currency in the digital space, attention. And so you see people willing to, unpopular opinion, but I think so and so and so and so, right? Because they want to grab attention, because there's so many distractions online. But I think if you are not starting from a place of, okay, how can I provide value? Because it's not about you as the marketer, is it? It's about the audience. And sometimes, and that's why I stopped doing consultancy, because you're going in and they're calling you as expert, and asking your opinion on this, you're telling them and go, but I don't like that. Nobody cares about what you like. It's about what the audience wants, what the audience need, what the value that the audience can get out of this thing. And I think we need to start recentering the audience, and we need to start, recentering the community. The most successful brands are the brands that work really hard to build a community around their core value as a brand, because brands are now autonomous things, right? And so you can't just hide behind a logo anymore, because people are now demanding more transparency and, demanding that you are a lot more upfront. And so it's no longer, now brands have to take a position on things, whether it's a political position on something or a social position on something. They have to take a position, but they have to be grounded in some kind of core ethics as a brand, right? For them to really be steady when the cancel come, right? So you look at what the people who make is it Coors beer, that they've gotten so much backlash over the last couple of months because they took a stand on pride. They are for pride, right? And all of a sudden you have people going, I ain't drinking Coors Light no more, because but these people, their stance is grounded in a core value that they have as a company, a core moral that they have as a company, that binds just about everything that they do. And that's the message that they're sending out into the public. And so as marketer, that's not the CEO saying that, that's the marketing team doing this. right? So as the marketer, as the marketing team, your job is to convey the message of what the core value of a company or brand or business, even if the brand or business is you, your job is to properly craft a message that you can then convey to the target audience to say, this is who we are as a brand. This is why we're different. And this is why you should trust us, be loyal to us, patronize us versus our counterpart. That's what your job is as a marketer, and it's no different in the digital space. So there has to be alignment with what you are doing in the digital space, the marketing strategies and tactics that you're using with your brand's core ethics, core values, core morals. There has to be some alignment there. And I think once you can find that alignment and you are not swayed because maybe this is not a sexy thing for you to do, and so you're not going to get the instant views, the shock value is not there, which means you're going to go viral, once that is not your goal, once the goal is not to go viral but to provide value, then that's where the alignment is going to come in. And more marketers need to go and read Seth Godin's blog, because he talks about this all the time, recentering the audience and making sure that whatever marketing strategies you're building is rooted in something more substantial than, oh, I want engagement and views, right? It's about how can I craft a message that conveys who we are as a brand. So you are more, because this is the thing, as I said, it's not enough for people to be aware that you exist. They have to care that you exist. There has to be some relevance. And we are doing ourselves a disservice if we don't understand that our audience is very politically and socially savvy, right? And now they are making decisions with their money. So if I don't like this brand because this brand does not fall in line with who I see myself as a person or my morals as a person, I'm not patronizing your brand. Right? And so marketers are in a very peculiar position where they no longer dictate the market. The audience dictate the market now. And so we're going to have to really stand on our ethics and stand on our core values and find a way to promote that and convey that to our audience where there's alignment. That's what we're going to have to do. So engagement is great, but building a community around those core values, it's even better, because now, and the good thing about that, the knock-on effect of that, or the net good of that, is now you can get user-generated content. Right? It saves you a lot of trouble having to create content for yourself, because now you can get user-generated content because people are going to want to associate themselves with your brand because they see themselves in the brand. There's a theory called the brand identity prism, right? And one of the what do you call it? A part of that is talking about how does the audience see themselves in your brand. Like a BMW, right? Why BMW sell? Because BMW for a lot of people represents progress. It represents the fact that I can now afford to do something because I would have been successful in my career or whatever. So it represents progress. And so me buying a BMW or being able to afford or drive a BMW represents to me and other people that I make it, me there, right? That's the whole point of luxury brands. Luxury brands convey to people your upward mobility, the fact that you have moved from here to a higher status. It's a status symbol, right? And so how you also have to think like that. How do I want people to see themselves in my brand, and what does my brand represent for them? Does my brand represent value and advancement and progression for these people? Or do I want engagement and views on TikTok? You have to make You have to make a decision, I think. And I don't think the two things are mutually exclusive. You can have a very popping TikTok page and still be grounded in values and ethics. You know what I mean? It's just about how quickly you want to get there, one, and what you're willing to do to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're learning a lot. Well, I'm learning a lot from this. And it's gonna put a lot of some questions in my mind as to how I want to tackle this on the social front. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for those pointers. And thank you so much for taking the time in joining us on the podcast here.
You guys are welcome.
Okay. So thank you for tuning into another episode of STEMmy Conversations. Be sure to follow and listen to us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Anchor, Google Sites, and Digicel Go Loud.